So John's working on something called Balcony DAO. Can you give us like a quick overview of what is Balcony DAO?
Sure, absolutely. So Balcony DAO is creating real estate-backed NFTs, which differ greatly from what some people are claiming to be real estate NFTs, which are really the acquisition of LLCs that own real estate. What we're doing is we're bringing the entire real estate and the metadata onto the blockchain to create transparency and liquidity so people can directly access real estate.
That's cool. So, I mean, real estate is something popular. I think the first thing when people hear about the benefits of blockchain and fractionalization and being able to build your own token and assets, the first thing people think about is like real estate, right? I mean, how cool would it be if we could all buy a house, and own it together? What's so hard about that?
What's so hard about that? First of all, it's impossible. It's absolutely impossible. Like that's where you need to start. People speak about real estate like it's this monolith. There's this grand taxonomy of real estate. There are infinite permutations and combinations of capital stacks, legal structures, asset class, and how to transact real estate. And the sad reality is that our friends in the tech space, I kind of straddle tech and real estate. Our friends in the tech space who don't understand this think of real estate as this monolith, and they try to solve a problem in real estate and apply it to everything. And it just doesn't work. On top of there being all of this complication with the asset class, then you have the regulations on top of that. And the regulations are manifold. You have the SEC regulations. Pause. If you're doing has with real estate and NFTs and you think that you're not a security, you're a security. Stop. Don't do that. That's stupid. Okay. So then we have SEC regulations. And then beyond that, what no one talks about yet, which I think is coming, is I think that there's state regulations. I think the Department of State steps in and says, you're either transacting a security or real estate or both, which is what we're doing. And you either need SEC regulations to follow, your Reg A, et cetera, or you also probably need to be a licensed broker to sell, which my firm is. Right. So there's too many layers here to unpack. For most people who are not in the space, that's frustrated the advancement of the digitization and the tokenization of real estate.
Interesting. So, I mean, you've been in, commercial industry, commercial real estate, residential real estate. I mean, what if all of us here decided we were all going to buy a house together, right? And we were going to throw one big party, and somebody gets hurt at that party. Who's holding the liability for that?
I mean, that's a great question. So ultimately what we need is a container, right? And this is where the NFT starts to become really useful. The NFT really can be that LLC, can become that container. It can be that vessel that assumes that risk and that liability on behalf of all the constituent members, right? Which is how we do commercial real estate transactions today. And so this is where we start to see the future and the promise for NFTs in real world assets and the application of our daily lived lives here, right? The NFT can become both the LLC and a one-for-one representation of the capital asset of the real estate itself, right? And under that fact set, somebody slips and falls, nobody here has to sell their home that they live in to pay for this investment property.
Okay. And why is it important that it's an NFT, a non-fungible token, versus just minting a token for every building that's out there or for every home that's out there?
Yeah, that's another wonderful question. So, really tokenizing real estate is not the appropriate tech tool to get to the end that people think they're getting at. When you start in real estate, the first thing you learn is that every piece of real estate is unique. There are no two unique pieces of real estate. Real estate is a non-fungible asset. And so the perfect tool to represent that on the blockchain is a non-fungible token, right? And all of the itinerant benefits flow from matching these two assets appropriately.
Interesting. So, I mean, what does this mean for the industry now? Like, what can we expect from all these people that are working on, putting real estate on the blockchain? Just recently, there was a house in Florida, right? That was, I think, the last number I heard was 12,000 bidders on this house that's being sold on the blockchain. I mean, what's special about that? Well,
first of all, it's very special, and I applaud it. I know Proppy was in some way involved with that transaction, and I believe that was also another LLC that was purchased that owned the home. And this was a tool to sort of circumvent regulation. I think ultimately that's not the way you want to go. I also do a fair bit of M&A work. you don't want the vicarious liability of buying somebody else's LLC for the slip and fall reasons you described earlier, and all the other itinerant vicarious liability. What we want to do is we want to bring assets onto the blockchain in a way that's sustainable. And the way to do that is I've started a working group for real estate NFTs to create a schema that is open source that anybody can use to define with absolute specificity any asset in the real world, and then take that data, put it on the blockchain, and with that transparency, create liquidity that creates a higher asset value that allows somebody back in the mother country to go buy that asset sight unseen based off of the data that's in the blockchain that they could easily reference. So that's the future, and that's where we have to go. What we need to do is avoid, what happened in the music industry where everybody got greedy and tried to do their own thing. And, 300 years later, there's somebody in Detroit waiting for a royalty check, and he's been dead for, 2.5 centuries. Like we want to avoid that and do this in a way that's intelligent, sustainable.
Right. So the schema sounds like an important first step. I mean, it's where we should probably all start and say, look, let's establish our taxonomy. This is what we're going to, what we're going to say, and that way we're all speaking the same language, even if we're not all using the same blockchain network or the same technology. At least we can establish some standards.
That's absolutely right. We have to establish some standards. We also have to agree on some basic things. Like we need consensus around the fact that real estate is a security, because it is. We need consensus of fact that we need a schema that's durable, intelligent, flexible, and thoughtful, that's created from people that are both in tech and real estate, so that 30, 50, 100 years from now, we're still able to use that. Right? We need to give this sort of like birthright to our industry. That has to start now. I've started it. If someone else started it, I'll join you. It needs to happen though, right? And then lastly, we have to figure out in this room, for those of us that are involved with DAOs, how do we leverage a real estate backed NFT for DAOs? And my theory is every DAO should have some real estate in their treasury. You should have some defensible asset that isn't a self-referential value, like your own token or some stable coin that might get unpegged at some point. You should have a piece of durable real estate so that if you find yourself in a short squeeze, like many of our other DAO brethren are experiencing right now, and people are disputing the intrinsic value of your token, you can say, look, there's this $30 million asset. We own 10% of it. There's $3 million of virtually indisputable value in our treasury, right? And this solves a problem that a lot of our DeFi DAOs have been experiencing, which is the fact that they believed incorrectly that token value is unimportant, and it is.
Yeah, and we're going to be talking about diversifying the treasury and treasury management in general a little bit later. But why do you feel like this needs to be a DAO?
I mean, that's a great question. So firstly, from the beginning of time, since the first real estate deal, which is when Adam and Eve bought their property fee simple with no debt, this industry has basically remained unchained, right? A very enormously small minority of people have made the decisions about everything in our built world, right? How many people here have developed a property? Okay, that's more than typical. That's not a lot of people, right? So the idea is if we create this DAO and we get this community input and we can start to engineer ways to create value, perhaps there's people who are taking forwards on properties. Maybe they're saying, look, I will buy this condo at this terminal value. I will buy this music venue at this terminal value. This group will buy this. We can de-risk transactions. We can build things that the community wants. We can change our lived world by changing who gets to participate in these assets.
Okay, so final question. What is it that Balcony DAO needs in order to grow?
What does Balcony DAO need? Well, we're doing great, frankly. To be totally honest, we've raised some money in our friends and family. We think that we are on the right track. I would like some more devs. Right now, I'm developing this product with one other person and my 11-year-old son. And so I would like to grow. Thank you.
Yeah.
I would like to grow, our team out. And so there's some very thoughtful, intelligent devs I've met here. Thanks to DAODenver, for bringing us all together. So I would like to bring some people onto the team there. I would like to talk to other DAOs about partnerships on ways that perhaps we can use token swaps to help build our treasuries and create some real value for each other. That's one thing I'd like to get out of here. I'd like some people to help me with this schema and join this working group that I've just started so that we can really develop this. And I'd like to hear your thoughts. I'd like you guys to riddle me with your hard questions and help me think about this and problematize this so that we could build something that's actually thoughtful and durable.
Awesome. Well, thank you, John Belitsky, Balcony DAO. Thanks, man.
Dude, appreciate it.
You got it.